Let's get into our first four here, and I'm excited to see the reaction from these first four teams. We'll start at the number 12 spot, where I have the Boise State Broncos. They obviously made the college football playoff last year, led behind Ashton Jeanty, who's one of the most dynamic players in the entire country. He was so awesome to watch. I have this team ultimately getting back into the college football playoff again as our group of five champion. The Mountain West looks very easy for them to try and dominate again. They actually have shorter odds to win the Mountain West this year than they did last year with one of the best players in the entire nation in Ashton Jeanty. So I think with Maddox Musin returning, their quarterback, they're going to have a lot of production. This defense is still one of the best in the country. This Boise State team is going to be a really good group of five team. Let's hop into our number 11 seed, where I have the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Boy, am I excited about this one. I think that Nebraska is going to be so good this year. This is finally the year that they turn it around in year 3 under Matt Rule. I've been so vocal about it all off season. Let me break this down for you guys. In year 3 of Matt Rule, this is the year where he turns it around. He did so at Temple. He did so at Baylor. He turned Temple into a 10-win team in year 3. He turned Baylor into a legitimate contender, had them up to the 8th ranked team in the country at one point in year 3. And at Nebraska right now, he's ahead of schedule. He won a bowl game for the first time in 7 years in Nebraska. In year 2. Now in year 3, everything is sank. This team is going to be even better. They upgraded this offensive line for Dylan Raiola. They upgraded this receiving core. The play caller spot is even better with Dana Holgorsen. The fact of the matter is they had a true freshman quarterback in Dylan Raiola who had no help last year. The wide receiving core was terrible. This running game was not efficient whatsoever. The offensive line was all right, and the play calling spot was just terrible. Now everything is so much better. I think that Nebraska is going to be this sleeper team, just like Indiana last year. They're going to shock everybody and get into the college football playoff with the last non-group of 5 spot. At our number 10 seed, I have the exact same situation going on here with an Indiana-like team in the Illinois. I think that this team's going to be really good. I look at Illinois right now as a team with Luke Altmaier, some of the most returning starters in college football. They are going to be really good, and it all starts with this offense. It all starts with Luke Altmaier because they have, 16 returning starters. That's 9 returning starters on offense. That is some of the most in the entire nation, the second most actually in the entire nation. They were really good last year. Their schedule's really easy this year. I look at Illinois as a team that could really surprise some people, just like Indiana did. So you have Nebraska and Illinois that are my 2 hot takes. I know I'm really Big Ten dependent right now. I still have Oregon making the college football playoff. They have a question mark, in my opinion, right now. Dante Moore is a sensational quarterback. He originally committed to Oregon when he was in high school. Then he decommitted, went to UCLA. Things didn't go great. Then he goes to Oregon again now, and everybody was hyping him up so much. Tez Johnson, a lot of the guys in this receiving core last year were saying, Dante Moore is going to be a Heisman contender this year, and I absolutely believe it. Oregon has produced 2 Heisman candidates in a row. If you remember Bo Nix 2 years ago, Dylan Gabriel last year. Why can't Dante Moore do the exact same thing? Hopefully their number 1 target in Evan Stewart isn't out all of this season, but they are going to need him if this Oregon team is going to legitimately compete for a national championship. But I love this foundation that Dan Lanning is putting in place, and I believe that they are going to continue to be a contender this year. I'm really excited to see what Dante Moore can do, and not enough people are talking about him potentially being a Heisman candidate. Let's hop into our next 4 seeds. We have Boise State at 12, we got Nebraska at 11, we've got Illinois at 10, and we've got Oregon at 9. With our next 4, at the number 8 seed, I have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They were amazing last year. They made it in to the college football playoff. They made it all the way to the national championship, and their offense just was not there against this Ohio State team that was a team of destiny. Ohio State was so awesome last year. They were an absolute buzzsaw. Nobody could stop them. They just flatlined everybody. Now Notre Dame comes into this season with Jeremiah Love, who's probably the best running back in the nation, a guy that's not getting talked about enough to potentially be a Heisman candidate as well. They just announced this week that CJ Carr is going to be the starting quarterback. He was a former four-star in the class of 2024. I'm really excited to see what this Notre Dame team can do because they have one of the best O-lines in the country, a tremendous run game, a defense that's going to be really good. I expect Notre Dame to be back into the college football playoff and to continue to be a contender. At number 7, I have the Georgia Bulldogs. This is a team that also is not getting enough credit, not getting enough hype right now. I know they were at number 5 in the AP preseason poll. I really am a believer in this team. The SEC is an absolute bloodbath. It's a gauntlet, but I believe in Gunnar Stockton. This is a guy that really didn't get talked about a lot last year. He was somebody that came in, replaced Carson Beck in the Big 12 in the SEC championship, He came in and replaced Carson Beck. Carson Beck gets hurt right before halftime. He's going for that Hail Mary, hurts his UCL. It's Gunnar Stockton time. He does enough to beat Texas in the SEC championship, get that automatic berth for Georgia, and they ultimately lose to Notre Dame, who makes it into the national championship. But Gunnar Stockton now is going to have a little bit of a learning curve. He's going to know that he's the guy as we head into this season, and I think he is a player with a ton of moxie. He showed so much in that game in the SEC championship, and I know things didn't go the way they wanted to last year in the college football playoff. This is going to be a huge learning curve. He's going to learn a lot from that point, and I expect Georgia to still be a top team in the country. At number 6, I have my Arizona State Sun Devils. This is a team that is going to be awesome this year. They have the most returning starters in college football with 17. Ladies and gentlemen, only 22 people go out on the field in offense and defense, and they have 17 returning starters. Now, they did lose probably their most important player last year in Cam Scatterbu, who's an absolute weapon for this team. He took the nation by storm in the college football playoff last year. Yes, they are losing him. I'm still expecting this team to be awesome this year. It starts with Sam Leavitt, starts with Jordan Tyson, an All-American receiver who they did not have last year in postseason football. Sam Leavitt's going to have his number 1 guy. It's going to be those two lighting up college football, and it's going to be those two lighting up the Big 12, in my opinion. The Big 12 is wide open. Not enough people are talking about Arizona State to just absolutely wipe them away. Sam Leavitt, Jordan Tyson, they're going to be awesome. This ASU defense is going to be even better. They are returning 12 of 11 starters on the defensive side of the football. I love what Kenny Dillingham is building at Arizona State. He talked about it. They want to become a national brand, and they have to do so by continuing to put their foot down in the Big 12. They did it last year. They're going to do it again this year. They're not getting enough credit for what they can truly do, because this can be one of the best teams in the nation. I really like the Arizona State Sun Devils. At number 5, before we hop into our final 4, I have the Ohio State Buckeyes, the reigning, defending, undisputed champions of last year. They were so awesome to watch, but they got gutted. They lost so many players. They lost Will Howard, Quinshot Judkins, Travion Henderson, so many guys on the defensive side of the ball. But the good news is for this team is that they probably have the number 1 player in the entire country in Jeremiah Smith. And they probably have the number 1 player defensively in the country in Caleb Downs at the safety position. They have a team that's still going to be excellent to watch. They just announced that Julian Sayin would be the starting quarterback this week. He was the number 5. He was the 5-star quarterback. He was the number 3 quarterback in the class of 2024. Very highly touted recruit. He's now the guy ready to go. I saw this hilarious analogy on Twitter that's like, listen, he just turned 16 years old. He just got a brand new Lamborghini. And all you've got to do is just put 2 hands on the steering wheel and just go very soft on the gas pedal. He doesn't have to go too crazy. You've got Jeremiah Smith. You've got a good offensive line. This is going to be a great team. Julian Sayin, I believe, is going to be a really dynamic quarterback. And there's a reason that he has the top 10 odds to win the Heisman this year. Do not sleep on the Ohio State Buckeyes just because they won the national championship last year. They got gutted in terms of the players that they lost. In 1 week, we get to see them go up against Texas, who I have, by no surprise, inside of the top 4. This is going to be a really good team. Excuse me on that one. I don't know what happened there. All right, our final 4 right here. These are our final 4 teams here in the college football playoff. At number 4, I have the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama is going to be awesome this year. I'm all in on this team. I've heard so much negative buzz around the Crimson Tide because, they didn't make the college football playoff last year in year 1 under Kalen DeBoer. Let's pump the brakes a little bit here. Everyone take a deep breath. Alabama is going to be just fine. Kalen DeBoer is a winner. He's finally got his roots, his grasp on this organization per se. And I believe that They've got the right guy under center in Ty Simpson, who's been in college football for 3 years now. He's a redshirt junior. This is what we've seen with a lot of quarterbacks in college football as of late. Look at Cam Ward. He was in college football for 5 seasons, increased his draft stock, became the number 1 overall pick. Look at Bo Nix. Look at Jaden Daniels. Guys that stayed in college football for a while, helped develop, increase their draft stock. Now, it's a different situation with Ty Simpson because he's never started a game before, but he's been in college football. He's waited his turn. I love the approach, the demeanor that he's taken throughout this entire situation. I believe that this Alabama team is going to be really good, and it's going to start with Ty Simpson. He's another guy that has a top 10 odds to win the Heisman Trophy. You've got a tremendous receiving core, and it starts with Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old sensation last year. I think you can debate, outside of Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams was probably the second best receiver in the entire country. You've got Jam Miller, who's going to come back around week 3, week 4 at the running back position, who is tremendous. This is a good defense that was top 10 in terms of points per game. Alabama has it all right now. They've got one of the best offensive lines headlined by Caden Proctor. This is another one of those situations with Julian Sayin, but you've got Ty Simpson, who's got more experience. He's learned the college game more, even though he doesn't have those starts. Don't press down on the gas too hard. Don't accelerate too fast. 2 hands on the steering wheel. And by week 6, we might see him throw his arm out the window and start bumping some, little baby, whatever you want to say. This team is going to be really good. Alabama is going to be a top 4 seed, although I do not have them winning the SEC. I have the Texas Longhorns winning the SEC, led by Arch Manning. By no surprise, I can't wait to watch Arch Manning play. I really cannot wait to watch him play. This dude is going to be so good. He's going to be so good. I know that it's like not a cool thing to talk about Arch in a positive way. Like, oh, stop glazing Arch. No, he's going to be so good. Like, I cannot wait. It would surprise me, quite frankly, if he didn't go pro after this year. I know that's kind of been, in the tea leaves, like, is Arch Manning going to stay another year in college football? Personally, I think if he has the year that everyone's projecting, he is the front runner to win the Heisman Trophy currently on every sports book. If he has the season that we're all expecting and Texas has the season that we all think they're going to have, he's going to go number 1 overall. Let's stop this right now. Everybody already loves the demeanor that he has. They already love the approach that he's taken. He sat 2 years behind Quinn Ewers with a big smile on his face. He said, I'm not going to transfer. You don't got to worry about me. Even though I'm the number 1 player in the nation, you don't got to worry about me whatsoever because I'm that good. I know that I'm going to be that good, and I know that I'm going to go really high in the NFL draft, and I'm going to be a day 1 playmaker. And that's what Arch Manning is going to do. He's going to be a day 1 playmaker for Texas this year. And if he has this season that we're all expecting, he's going to go pro. He's going to go number 1 overall. This Texas team is going to be unbelievable. We get to see them against Ohio State, the reigning defending champs, in week 1. This is going to be must-see TV. I can't wait to watch it, but Arch Manning is going to be so special this year. I can't wait to see what he does. The Texas Longhorns will win the SEC. At number 2, I have the Clemson Tigers. Clemson is going to be so good this year. This is a team that I've flirted back and forth with, like, will they win the national championship? I can firmly say that they might. They are that good. I've gone back and forth so much between them and the other team you're going to see here in a few minutes. Clemson's going to be really, really good this year, and it all starts with Cade Klubnik. We saw so many quarterbacks like a Drew Aller, like a Cade Klubnik, so many guys come back to college football this year and say, I want to increase my draft stock, and Cade Klubnik is one of those guys that can play himself into the number 1 overall pick, in my opinion. He's accurate as all get out. He also has a tremendous demeanor. He could be a top 10 pick for this upcoming season, and he could also be a guy that can win the Heisman Trophy. We all understand that to win the Heisman, you've got to correlate the wins along with stats. This is the best offense that Dabo Swinney's had in the Cade Klubnik era. They have a tremendous receiving core. They have a good run game, good offensive line, and a great defense, and a cupcake schedule. That always helps. This is going to be a team now with Cade Klubnik that has a lot of expectations, but in reality, they're going to do it. Cade Klubnik can play himself into the number 1 overall pick. They should dominate the ACC. I look at Clemson, it's like they're all the way up here, and like Miami and everyone else is significantly lower than them. I think Clemson's going to be so good. They're going to be a buzzsaw in the ACC. Nobody is going to sniff them. And at number 1, I have the Penn State Nittany Lions. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the team that I have been all in on this offseason. I cannot wait to see what Penn State does. They are going to be so good. And it all starts with Drew Aller, another one of those guys that decided to come back, try and increase his draft stock. They have a two-headed hydra at the running back position in Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. They have, 15 returning starters. 9 of them come offensively. They did lose Tyler Warren, who is a huge impact playmaker. But if there's one thing that I can say, this is probably the best offense that James Franklin has ever had at Penn State. And you just don't see that. You don't see that very often. It's always been Penn State. Okay, you've got Ohio State and you've got Michigan that are leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. No, right now, Penn State is going to be leaps and bounds ahead of your Ohio States and your Michigans and your Oregons. Penn State is going to be that good this year, and I believe they have a very favorable schedule considering how tough of schedules these SEC teams have. Penn State should be a lock to win the Big 12, in my opinion, and I believe that being the number 1 seed in the entirety of the college football world is absolutely attainable for them. There are a lot of expectations on this team, but I believe that they will ultimately get it done. Let's cut it down to 8 teams here, folks. Let's get to our college football playoff quarterfinals. Ooh, I can't wait for this one. Boom. Let's start up top. At number 12, we have the Boise State Broncos against the Ohio State Buckeyes. By no surprise, I've got Ohio State winning this one here. I love what Ohio State did this offseason. With all things considered, they lost a ton of guys, but they get Julian Sayin. I think Julian Sayin is going to be excellent for this offense. I like Ohio State to take care of Boise State pretty handedly here. I think Ohio State's going to be really good. They're probably going to be in the Big Ten championship, if I'm being quite honest with you guys, against Penn State. The Big Ten this year, I'm not too sure they're going to be great. I think it's a pretty big drop-off. After you have Penn State, you've got like Ohio State, you've got Michigan, you've got Oregon, you've got Illinois, and then I think maybe another tier. It's like Nebraska, USC. So we'll see with how the Big Ten is going to be this year, but I believe that Ohio State will be pretty tremendous. In our 9-8 matchup, we've got Oregon against Notre Dame. I think Oregon's going to win this one here. I really like what Dante Moore can be. I love his upside. I think he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. He's going to be one of the guys that we're going to be talking about, like, okay, he could be, the Heisman front runner the year after. Hopefully they can get Evan Stewart back at this point. If they can get him back, watch out for Oregon to really make a deep run here. And then Nebraska ASU. This hurts my soul here because I currently go to Arizona State, but I am a massive Nebraska fan. I've got the Big Red winning a playoff game. Now, I promise you I'm not on anything here, and this may be either the best take I've ever had or the worst take I've ever had, but Nebraska is all the way back. History repeats itself. Matt Rule in year 3 and the Cornhuskers winning in the 90s. They'll bring it back. Give me the Cornhuskers to knock off ASU in the first round. And then we have Illinois against Georgia. I believe that Georgia's going to win this one here. I think that Georgia is going to be really good. This is going to be a tough second round matchup for Georgia and Clemson. But I've got Georgia beating Illinois. We've got some comments flooding in right now. I'm sorry, Brady. Sorry for your Sun Devils. Garrett as well. Colorado, we'll talk about them here in a little bit. We'll talk about some other teams. I'll go through some of the questions. But let's hop into the semifinals right now. Boom. Alabama, Ohio State. Must-see TV in the quarterfinal. Give me Alabama to move on. This team is going to be really, really good this year. I love what Ty Simpson can be. I love what this can be one of the best offenses in football. Ty Simpson is one of these guys that he can play himself into a first-round pick, in my opinion. Why can't he play himself into a first-round pick? Why can't he? He's going to be awesome this year. Ryan Williams is going to be so good. This defense is going to be tremendous. One of the best offenses in football. Give me Alabama to knock off Ohio State. Then we've got a Big Ten matchup. We've got Oregon against Penn State. Give me Penn State to knock off the Oregon Ducks. I believe that Penn State is destined to get to the national championship. Oregon is just in their way. Give me Penn State. Then we've got Nebraska and Texas, a little throwback rivalry. I believe that Texas will win this one, unfortunately. It hurts my soul. It hurts myself to say it because I want Nebraska to win it all, but they're not going to do it. Texas with Arch Manning, so legit. Arch is going to do nasty things to this Cornhuskers defense. They will make it into the semifinal. And in our last quarterfinal game, we have Georgia against Clemson. Give me the Clemson Tigers. Clemson is inevitable. What a beautiful Final Four we have. Alabama, Penn State, Texas, Clemson. You've got 4 quarterbacks that could all be trying to get the number 1 overall pick. Now, probably Ty Simpson won't be in that range, honestly. He won't be in that range, but you've got Drew Aller, Arch Manning, Cade Klubnik that are all going to be trying to play themselves in to the number 1 overall pick. Man, this is going to be a tremendous second round here. Let's see what our championship's going to look like. Boom! Penn State, Clemson. Oh my goodness. I'm so fired up about this. I believe that Penn State is going to beat Alabama. Penn State's going to beat Alabama. I'm expecting the defense to be tuned up at this point. Penn State's always been known for their defense. They've always been so great on that side of the ball. And I expect James Franklin to have this defense tuned up. I believe they're going to beat Alabama. They're going to be able to neutralize this explosive offensive attack. I think Drew Aller at this point is going to exercise some of these demons per se that he had in the semifinal last year. If you remember kind of the infamous photo, he puts his hands on his head after he throws that just inexcusable pick to try and go win the game late. Notre Dame answers with a field goal and Penn State goes down in flames. Well, now it's going to be a different situation. He's going to take down Alabama to get to the national championship. Drew Aller redeems himself. In our other semifinal matchup, we have Texas versus Clemson. 2 tremendous teams here. Arch Manning and Cade Klubnik could legitimately be playing for the number 1 overall pick right now. The buzz around this game is going to be crazy. I would expect Texas to be a slight favorite in this game, but if I had to take a team, I got to take Clemson. I think Cade Klubnik's going to be spectacular this year. Dabo Swinney has been in this position more, so I trust his coaching experience more than Texas. I think this is the game that reminds the world, like, Clemson is still one of the best teams in, this last decade or so, even though they've been off for a few years. No, they're going to be right back in this position. Clemson gets to the national championship against Penn State. And ladies and gentlemen, I have Penn State winning the national championship. Penn State gets it done. They complete the three-peat and they win the national championship. We saw Michigan do it 2 years ago. We saw Ohio State do it last year. The Big Ten proves that they are the best conference in all of college football. This is a team that, like I said, has 14 returning starters. 9 of them come on the offensive side of the ball. The biggest question mark with Penn State over the last few years, and in particular in the James Franklin era, is it's like, can they get it done offensively? We all understand their defense is going to propel them. It's going to keep them in every single game. It did it last year against Ohio State. Their defense literally almost played them into winning that game. Ohio State won it late. Penn State has got to step up on the offensive side of the ball this year. There are no more excuses. Drew Aller came back to try and play himself into the number 1 overall pick. There are reports this offseason that had Drew Aller hopped into the NFL draft, the Cleveland Browns would have taken him at number 2 overall. Now, that was a report. Obviously, nothing is for sure, but Drew Aller is this guy that's 6'5", 240 pounds, an absolute gunslinger. He's become more mobile. He's a guy that, honestly, I was enamored with this offseason as a player that could really be a franchise quarterback in the NFL. And I think if he can just be even a little more mobile, show off that leg moving a little bit more, teams are going to be absolutely salivating to get their hands on Drew Aller. They've got a tremendous run game, a tremendous offensive line. Yes, the loss to Tyler Warren is going to be huge, but I've got to trust the experience of Drew Aller, the experience of him being in this position last year, throwing that interception, redeeming himself. I'm going to trust the fact that James Franklin will have this defense tuned up and ready to go. I believe that Penn State will win the national championship. They pull off this three-peat.